Hello, my name is Stephen Turner, and I'm the Managing Director of Rafaella Resources, a critical metals developer and explorer. The usual disclaimer, which we'll give you a moment to have a look at, and we pass on. Let's have a look at the portfolio of Rafaella Resources. Rafaella Resources is a company that has, over the last 12 months, refined its portfolio. We're very much focused on a development project in Spain, a tungsten project with some exposure to tin, and then exploration portfolio that we've built up over the last 12 months in Canada with a focus on nickel and copper and some cobalt spread across both in Yukon and Quebec. The focus of Rafaella Resources is very much on critical metals, primarily focused on tungsten through our development project, and then nickel and copper through our Canadian high-grade sulphide projects that we picked up at the end of last year. We do have exposure across a number of other commodities as well through the exploration portfolio. As I mentioned, cobalt, silver, and gold in there. So a good spread of critical metals for the company, near-term production, and high-impact exploration in what we consider mining-friendly jurisdictions. Let's focus first of all on Santa Comba. Santa Comba is our development project, our flagship. It is located in northwest Spain. It is in the province of Galicia, near the coast, 60 kilometers, well positioned to service tungsten deficient commodities or regions, such as Europe and North America. Quick look at tungsten. Tungsten is a unique metal, no obvious substitute. It is a critical metal, primarily critical because it is because of risks around the supply chain. It is dominated by Chinese supply, an area that actually has declining resources, declining grades, and there are a few international projects coming on stream globally. The recent offer by the Tasmanian government to support the Dolphin Tungsten project in Tasmania of $10 million is a clear statement indication of the growing concern by governments on this supply chain risk, having such a dependence upon China. There are very few suppliers outside China, Vietnam being the next largest one. In Europe, where Santa Comba is based, there are less than half of the total demand is met through local production. And you can see this in the recent spike in the price of tungsten. APT, which is the benchmark, is now over $250 per MTU, that's metric ton unit, or 10 kilogram bags. And 65% tungsten concentrate in Rotterdam is now over $200 per MTU. This is quite important. We ran our pre-feasibility study for the project at $240 flat over the life of the project. That was seen as very conservative at the time, and I think the market is bearing that out. So there is substantial upside just on the pricing side for our project, let alone resource in other areas where we can continually enhance our project. So let's have a look at Santa Comba, a quick snapshot. Good high-grade resource. There's a lot of infrastructure in place. It's well located to service the markets that are in deficit for tungsten. Good infrastructure, roads, grid, power, etc. We have TransMine Trading as our strategic investor and nominee on the board. And there's an aggregate pit operation located at site, which gives us the opportunity to fast track production. We have a mining concessions out to 2068 associated with that, our process plant and construction permit, and also underground permit. And our ability to move quickly into open pit mining would be via the aggregate pit operator. The resource is hosted in a 7-kilometer by 1 to 2 kilometer wide granite massif. It comprises high-grade, narrow vein underground mining historically done in the 1980s, and then more recently a focus on disseminated lower grade, high volume mineralization, which has been the subject to an extensive drill campaign last year, and now a current drill campaign to expand that resource even further. So the resource, the current resource is 10.6 million tons, reasonably modest. We took on a 5 million ton inferred resource back in August of 2019 when we acquired this project. So we've already substantially increased it, and we're back out right now with 3 drill rigs on site with a 4,500 meter campaign to further scale up the project. The project is predominantly wolframite, which has a lower environmental footprint and historically has produced a good clean concentrate. The aggregate plant that is alongside our resource is already a fairly substantial operation. Our resource runs along the west and to the north. There's a tailings storage facility in place. There's the quarry operations. Our offices sit just outside that, and there's power and roads, etc., all to site. So a fairly substantial brownfield site or operating site, and our operations are very much brownfield, and a town 7 kilometers away as a good source of local labor. The resource that was drilled out in 2019 with a nearly 9,000 meter campaign took our total resource to 10.6 million tons, a decent grade for a tungsten open pit of a 0.16 in the open pit side, and then we've got a higher grade 0.95% tungsten in the underground. Predominantly, most of the value and the life of this mine will be driven from the open pit, but we do have a very attractive, relatively small underground operation that we can use to complement our development. As I mentioned before, we are currently drilling with 3 rigs on site, a 4,500 meter campaign, which should, we believe, substantially scale up this project and should be immediately accretive to the project, as we are looking at converting pretty much straight to measured and indicated. So this will all feed directly into the mine plan. The economics released in December show extremely strong metrics, modest in scale perhaps, but with the drilling campaign going on, we expect to see that step up significantly. And the economic, the OPEX and the CAPEX won't substantially change. So this, what we should see is just a significant improvement through to the bottom line. You can see here from the photo, a lot of the infrastructure in place. A lot of this plant that's in front will be removed and taken away and replaced with a modular process plant. Some underground commissioning is underway, making it safe so we can have access to some existing stocks that we can use at the commissioning time. So that's underway and continues to progress. Santa Comba has good support, particularly from the local mayor, where they'd like to see the operation up and running again, where many people from the town of Santa Comba have worked previously. The timeline to get into operation, you can see, is really the next 6 months is quite critical as we complete the definitive feasibility study, increase the resource, finalize offtake and funding, and then we'll move immediately into development and commissioning. Let's move into Canada. Our exploration portfolio. High impact, we have the Yukon with copper, cobalt, and silver, and then Northern Quebec with nickel, copper, and platinum group elements. In the Yukon, we completed a geological mapping program last year, which identified a new opportunity through the pyrite talus float, and that's something we'll go back and explore later this year and have some further work done on that. So quite excited about that. That's a longer term play. It's still early stage. Midrim and Laforce, much more advanced, nearly 45,000 meters of drilling in place, very high grade intercepts, high grade pods of nickel, copper sulphides, over 5-6% in places of nickel and copper. We are currently, we have just completed a heliborne EM survey. The results of that will come out shortly. There are already 10 shallow anomalies been identified, and this low frequency heliborne EM has been looking for deeper plays that hopefully will identify the feeder systems to these high grade pods. So some really exciting opportunity here, and some fantastic exposure across those critical metals that we've identified as being areas that we want to have in our portfolio. So why invest in Rafaella? We've got this near-term producing asset, advanced with production hopefully by the end of this year. And then we have some high impact exploration across some very attractive commodities within the mining friendly jurisdiction of Canada. So we bring a good balanced portfolio with the exposure in the right sort of commodities, commodities that are moving in the right direction, nickel, copper, tungsten, all prices we see are going up and going up fairly strongly and expected to continue to do so going forward. So we think we've got ourselves a tremendous portfolio in the right places. The board, fairly small market cap, we think is significantly undervalued. Small board, good spread of shareholders, very supportive shareholders. And this is something that we would welcome bringing in more long-term investors that can support us as we go forward and really build upon this portfolio and build a strong cash flow that will allow us to expand and derive significant value going forward for shareholders. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to hearing from anyone that would like to reach out. Always happy to take questions. Thank you very much.